Welcome to Empowered Mind, Body, Soul. I'm your host, Olivia Paige with Ascension Healing Sounds. And today we are joined by Ashley Pakulski, the Mompreneur Coach, and she helps mompreneurs step into their power. And today we're going to be talking about Ashley's personal journey through recovery, success, and happiness. Empowered Mind, Body, Soul. A podcast journey to your truth with heartfelt stories, sound healing, and life hacks. Hi, Ashley. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So let's start first with what brought you to becoming the Mompreneur Coach.
Yeah, so it has been a journey itself. I always knew I wanted to do something my way, like me being my own boss, but I just didn't know the how exactly what. I did this program here where I live, and they basically helped entrepreneurs with their business plan building kind of thing, creating your own business plan. And with that, I applied, and then the coach there asked me, what is it that you want to do? And I was like, great question. And I said, life coaching. And as my journey progressed, starting my business with the life coaching, it was mind and health. So it was open for everyone, men and women. But as I started working with coaches, as I started gaining more of that experience, I was like, I'm a mom. I started my own business. I was working actually with clients that were moms. And that's when the whole mompreneurial journey started, like with the name, the Mompreneur Coach was born.
I love that. I love that name.
No, thank you.
You had told me that you had some struggles with alcohol. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So again, that was a whole journey with its own self. Since a young age, I experienced some things and trauma again in high school. And I guess I didn't have that self-worth within myself. I didn't properly heal. So when you're in high school growing up, now alcohol is put in front of you, and that was my little suppressor. Like, I let go that way. I took away the pain. I didn't have to worry about things. So after a while, years later, I had my daughter, and I was okay. And, I was going out here and there kind of thing, but there were still incidents where things happened that got carried away. It affected my relationships. But when me and my daughter's father, we started separating, that's when I started turning way more to that alcohol. So there was like always like little breaks I had in between kind of thing. And it was like this little cycle going on. And as that was happening, I started being more dependent on it. First, it started like on the Saturdays, then it started Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and it grew. Then it was like, you know what I mean? So it was a vicious cycle.
Mm.
And 3 years ago, it was supposed to be my 3 years. I went to AA. I got support for that. I did try other things before in the past, but it wasn't really working. And with the AA, it really did help me. And here I am today, 1 year sober free, sober,
Oh,
alcohol free.
congratulations.
Thank you. And, it's been a journey, and it's not just about not drinking. It's about finding yourself, that whole self-discovery, that healing, working through those traumas that actually like held me captive for so many years.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what were those things that you did to help you work through those traumas?
So I did try the counseling, and they say counseling is like trial and error. You got to find the right one. Um, to me, truthfully, what has helped me is like when I started diving into the self-help books, when I started really pouring into myself, doing morning routines. I really legit thought I invented something. And then I Googled it, and there was Oprah, all these multimillionaires, billionaires, people doing it. They're doing it all the time. And you really fuel yourself. You regulate your nervous system. And it is really healing and therapeutic. I've practiced a lot of forgiveness. I had to forgive. That's a big piece of it too. And of course, there's things that still resurface because, you think you work through something, but then something pops up and it's like, no, I fully didn't work through it. So you still got to like dig deep a little. But it's been even making peace with myself, peace with my life, and taking like the knowing that what I went through wouldn't be where I am today. You know, God has a plan, or your higher power has a plan for you, and you go through these things because it's your story, and you can take that message and help other people. So it's not having that guilt, I would say, that shame, that fear, those angers, because it's so easy to fall into that, and it's so easy to control your whole life. But when you work through those things, you're in more peace, you're in more love, and it's still a journey itself, right? But it really helps.
And are you willing to share with us what your morning routine was?
Yeah, and I still practice this. I switch it up too. So I always love to do, I pray for sure. That's the first way that I start my day. I always surrender my day. You know, even if there's challenges, any things that I go through, that's the one thing I learned is there's no need to stress, right? Stress is a normal thing, but when you just like surrender, let go, you take your hands off the wheel. So with praying, I do that. I do meditations, breath works, visualizations. I actually have written out like a script. This was from Think and Grow Rich, about my future self, like in present tense of what I've accomplished. And I read that every morning and even at nighttime. And like I visualize that. Affirmations I do as well. And sometimes it's just legit like the meditations, like sitting still in silence, having my happy juice, and just like even practicing gratitude. So I do change it up because sometimes people are like, wow, you do a lot of things. And I'm like, you switch it up. And nighttime, like, you know what I mean? They say it's like how you do your night routine is actually your morning routine. So nighttime, I love to listen to affirmations when I'm sleeping at night. So it's like helping reprogram my subconscious mind as well.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit more about surrender? Because I feel like I really struggle with the idea of what it means to surrender. Do you think you could talk about that?
Yeah, I will definitely share what comes to my heart here, mind. I feel surrendering is like when we want an outcome, right? We know what we want, or see if there's a problem and we're trying to control it, right? Um, we like to have that control, and it's just coming to acceptance terms that we can't control everything, right? There's things that we can control and there's things that we can't. And even though we have this structure of this plan, this idea of what we want to do, it just doesn't work out that way sometimes, right? And it can be so easily for us to get hurt, to get frustrated, to get overwhelmed, to get irritated. And I find with that, when you start to feel your body feeling those emotions, which is okay to have, but like if you start feeling those, that's when you need to take a step back and surrender, to let go of that outcome of what you really want and just to let it go. I believe in God, so I always pray to Him and I say, can you just take this? I'm like, I'm doing what I can, or this is really bugging me. And then I go and I do something fun, whether it's walk my dog, unless he like really starts like having a mind of his own and wants to go different ways, then it's not very pleasant. But you know, going out in nature, doing something fun for me where I completely let go and surrender. And at times, yes, you plant the seeds, and I promise everything just works out because you let go of that attachment of how it needs to be, or you know, that fear, and you just truly trust and believe and have that faith that it just works out. It always does. Like even our podcast today, I had the fire alarm testing, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I should like reschedule this because I was nervous, and I was like thinking like, what's gonna happen with all this beeping noise? I'm like, but I don't want to like reschedule. I want to go forward with this, and I just trusted. I said, Lord, I'm like, I have this podcast, and it's coming to the trust of knowing that even if it doesn't go the way that you want it to, or what you hope for, it always works out, and it does.
Awesome. Well, I definitely think, I struggle with that, the control piece, like wanting to really know what the outcome is going to be, or really, know how things are going to go. Like I was really raised to like prepare for the worst, And so I just I always do that. I always like come up with every scenario in my head of how things could turn out or the direction that they could go so that like I'm prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really hard for me to do the surrender because I feel like that's my protection, like like figuring out, all those scenarios and like figuring out how I would deal with each one. And it was just ingrained in me, since childhood. And so I really struggle with, overcoming that and not doing that and not feeling like I'm always needing to prepare for the next thing. And
No,
so,
no, it's
yeah,
true. And I love that you say all this and being open and raw about this because it's true. Like, you know what I mean? Since childhood, we have these beliefs, these things ingrained in us from our families. And, it's not that they wanted something like bad for us or whatever. Like, you know what I
right,
mean? Like they thought they were
exactly.
protecting us, that you're setting yourself up that just in case if the worst does happen, you have a plan. Like I always say, be 2 steps ahead of
Right,
the game. But again, too, it's true because subconsciously here you're thinking already that, oh, it can go bad, and that's what you're putting out, kind of thing, right? And usually it can go bad in a way, and I can fully relate with that because I've had it ingrained in with me too. And then there'll be times I'll be working towards a goal and or anything. It could be anything, right? Even like a trip or something, and you have this plan and it's all working out, but then something there, it starts derailing and it's not going the way you plan. It's just like, oh, something always has to happen. And that's what always was said. Something, expecting something to always to happen. And then that's what's programmed here and that's what's coming there. And it takes practice. There's times I screw up with things too. I surrender, but I still get frustrated, right? But it's really tuning into yourself, regulating your nervous system, doing the things that you love and just like fully with your heart and soul letting it go, journaling about it. I don't know if you journal, but like journaling is another therapy to itself. Like even
mm-hmm.
writing it out and just like ripping it up and like releasing it. And again, baby steps. It takes time, but you learn to have that trust within and confident in yourself that hey, it is going to work out. It does work out for me, and look for that proof when things did work out.
Yeah. And that is definitely something I need to practice because it's exhausting. Like, just being in that state of mind is exhausting. And I also feel like how I am as a mom, like always trying to make sure that everything is okay and looking out for my kid and making sure that they don't, that things don't go wrong.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just exhausting to live like that. And I don't know how I would not be the how I would not have that worry or that need to keep my child protected and safe and always thinking of how to, I don't know, keep them in mind and not forget that they're a part of this experience. And I don't think that's what you're saying or what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling here. It's just, I don't know, it's just stressful. That's all. It's stressful being a mom.
No, no, and
There's a lot.
no, everything that you're saying is like so valid and like so real. And like, this is the things that we go through because even the things that I've been through since a child, bringing in a human into this life. And here I am going through my addiction and going through this and raising this little kid. We go through our own things. We have things, we all have stories. We have things that we have gone through. And then when these humans that are dependent on us, we want to give them the best, just like our parents, like I know there's people that parents not present and stuff like that, but like, you know what I mean? Like there are parents there that want obviously the best for their kids. They bring them into this life and I think like our parents too, everyone's going through their own stuff. They have their own stories. And as kids, what I'm trying to say is we don't even realize that. We were doing our own thing, whatever. They were going through their own
Right.
stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like a generational thing. And, we want to protect our kids and for them not to go through the things that we go through. And I actually had to
Right.
stop myself because and it's not that I don't, me and my daughter have an amazing relationship. Even though through everything that I was going through, she is the most resilient child. She is so like, like she's just a go-getter kind of thing. She's so disciplined and then there's things that I didn't want her to go through that was actually damaging. It was damaging because I was teaching her fear. And like, you know what I mean? I want her to be fearless, be smart, be 2 steps ahead of the game, but I want her to trust me and not me be too overprotective, because my parents, like, they
Mhm.
were strict, but at the same time, I was allowed to go down the street and do whatever. Here, I'm like, okay, where's your tracker? So I can track you where you are. Make sure you call me, text me 5 times. I told you, text me when you get to the stop and when you're on the bus, kind
Right.
of thing. So it is hard, and there's nothing easy with being a mother. And every kid is different. That's the thing. Every child has different thing. I only have one and a dog, but he's like another baby. But when our kids teach us. They teach us, and we are learning more about ourselves because we're trying to be that better mother as well. Like, I know with me, I have a lot of that mom guilt. Sometimes, like, I have like that, like, we explode. We explode and then we lose our crap, and then and then we're apologizing
Yeah.
the next second, like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't
Yeah.
have done this or whatever. But we're human. I actually
Yeah.
made a post about that because I had that a couple of days ago when I exploded fully.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that does that. Like sometimes I just feel like I just feel like the worst person, the worst mother. Like, and I actually just have a bad habit of telling myself that, like, I'm a terrible mother. Like, I should have done that better, or I should have said that better. And I try to do the same thing, like, where I apologize and I'll explain and I'll, like, have an open conversation with my son about, what happened in that moment or whatever. But, and hoping that it at least teaches them open communication and the importance of being vulnerable. And I don't know. And yeah, it's like you said, being a parent is hard. It's so hard. And I really struggle with the whole thing of, I need to do all these things to protect my child, but am I inhibiting his growth later on down the road because I'm in fear? But I just, like, you see the world around you and it's just like, I have to protect him. I don't know how to get out of
Yeah.
that. Like, I just feel like I have to protect him. The world, it just sometimes just feels like the whole world isn't safe. How can I let him, out in this world? And so that's a struggle.
Yeah, no, and I definitely feel you on that. And first, I want to like applaud you too. Like, and I do this too. And I think this is like the most amazing thing that you can do, because even though when I made my mistakes during my journey going through the whole addiction and raising my child, and she saw a lot of things, and but I was always a good mom. And the thing is, so apologizing to them, that's the biggest thing that you can do, because to them, they see like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I mean? And that makes that stronger bond. So then when they do something wrong or they are feeling something, they come to you. They're not scared to talk to you, open up to you. I was terrified of telling my mom anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I never said anything.
Mhm.
I kept it in, and I went my way, kind of things. Having that open relationship is key. And I know what you mean with the world not being safe and like the things going on and those fears and stuff like that. And it's okay to teach them safety. It's okay to teach them to be aware of their surroundings. When my child was in her diapers little, I told her, no one can touch you here or there. And I had a babysitter
Right.
watch her, and I came home and she's like, sorry, I couldn't change your diaper. She kept saying, no, no, not you, only mommy or daddy. So they learn, they're smart. And I don't know if this will help, but I wanted to share this. I saw this video a long time ago, and they were interviewing all the moms, and the moms were saying, I feel horrible this, I do this, and all this guilt and all this whatever. So they were like putting themselves like in this like sadness, like, it's real. Like, we feel that because we think we have to be these perfect moms, whatever kind of thing, but we're human, right? We're not robots. And so the parents were done, and then the moms. And then what happened was they interviewed the kids. And the kids are like, "Oh, my mom, she's the best. I love her. I don't know what this and that." And I was like crying in tears, because we are our hardest critics ever. And I think this is where it comes to like that, even though you have that confidence, you still have that like void, that hurt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to give them their all. I just a quick note here too. Like, even when my daughter was younger, going to the park, I was always behind her. And I'm like, oh, don't fall, don't whatever, be careful. And my friend's like, no, she needs to fall. I'm like, are you crazy? I'm like, I don't want her to like smash her head or whatever. So I'm gonna protect her. Like, you know what I mean? And even
Exactly.
yeah, and like, just like with that, like my mom always used to be like, don't go near there. It's too high. You can fall. I'm terrified of heights, right? I want to do skydiving, but I'm terrified of heights. And, you know, I think they adapt very well. They're like sponges, they're kids. But at the same time, too, like we just have to trust them. They have to go through their own things. There was an incident I had with my daughter's situation, and her grandmother said, she's like, she can handle what she can on her own. And if she can't, she's going to come to you. But you have to let her come to you. And not like me, like, are you sure you're okay? What do you want me to do? You're acting weird. Like, we need to give them their space and let them learn how to figure it out on their own. But again, safety wise, I completely agree with you. I told her, I'm like, if you see any like car following, or if you're this person's approaching this way, like make sure you do that. Like giving all like playing the tape forward, and that's normal. That's they need to know those safety things, or like the internet as well. I have those open conversations with her about the internet, pictures and all that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people her age that are sending pictures. I'm like, don't you guys have any freaking common sense? Like, you know what I mean? But they don't have parents that, really talk to them. And then there's parents that do talk to them, but it's just like there's something with that relationship. Like, you know what I mean? But that's like a whole different level kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and my son and I, we do have a very good relationship, but like you said, the mom guilt is real, and I appreciate having this conversation with you. It's nice knowing, that you're not the only one, because I definitely feel like I'm the only one. I don't have much of a support system, and it could be very lonely as a mom, and as a single mom. I'm a single
Oh,
mom,
me
so
too.
I
Oh, we're BFFs. Let's be BFFs.
right.
We'll support each other.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit, and let's talk about how you help mompreneurs.
Yeah, so I have been changing things in my business with the wording, but everything stayed the same. And I really help them stepping into their power. Their power meaning that they're finding that fulfillment within themselves, right? They're confident in themselves. They love themselves, right? And again, it's a journey, not a quick fix kind of thing, but it all goes down to reprogramming your subconscious mind. Because even in my journey, that's when I started learning more. Bob Proctor, he was mentioning, he goes, what was he calling them? Oh my goodness, paradigms. And I'm like, what are these freaking paradigms? And then I started reading more and learning more, and I'm like, oh, limiting beliefs. And it's true, because your thoughts, feelings, actions give you the whole result kind of thing, right? So it helps with how you're going to show up in your life. It helps with how you're going to show up in your business, and it all links together hand in hand. So again, your next level success isn't just success money wise, right? Money is great to have. It's a tool. It's there to support, to help, but it's that happiness within. Because when you are taking care of yourself, doing that inner mindset work, all of the other stuff is going to come fall into place. Because I find it's not always the strategy, and this is what I go big, and I know I'm going all over the place with this, but but when you have that strategy, right? I always say this example. You have this coach or whoever, they have this program, here's a strategy you're following. There's person A here doing the strategy, killing it, signing on the clients, doing everything's just working out perfect. And then there's this person and they're struggling. It's not the strategy. It's how your inner work mindset is, right? It's like how you are internally. That's what I wanted to say. I almost said a different word there, but you know what I mean? So it's important to do that inner mindset work. And I teach that to moms doing that, because then you're more intentional with your time, your actions, and you're creating that successful business. You know where to strategically plan and what steps to take in your business as well. So I know that was a whole lot in there, but that's pretty much of it in a nutshell. Taking care of you.
Okay. Okay, so your approach is teaching mompreneurs how to take care of themselves and their whole mindset in order to create a
Yeah,
successful business. Is
yeah.
that correct?
Business and
Okay.
life, everything that they desire kind of thing. So yeah, and have being that
Okay.
present, intentional mom with your children. That's the most powerful thing too. It all links hand
Okay.
into hand.
So, do you work with clients in person or virtually?
So I do virtually. In person, I want to do back more into networking, in-person events and stuff like that. I think that was so much fun, and then COVID began and it all stopped. So that would be
Mm.
nice to do. But yes, I do everything virtually.
Well, that's nice because then people all over can work with you.
Yeah, yeah, and you can work from anywhere too. So that's the most beautiful piece. I think now too, like the times are changing, right? So now it's just like using that digital laptop, work from anywhere. So I love that.
Yeah. And where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at the Ashley Pakulski, or I even have a Facebook group, Next Level Success for Mompreneurs.
Okay. Great. Well, and we'll put those links in the show notes for people. So, when someone works with you and they have a session with you, do they typically have just like one session or do they do like a series of sessions?
Yeah, so I have two programs. There's the 4-week program that's more like a sprint program, I would say, but it's still amazing. And that's like, again, one on one coachings for the 4 weeks. I am going to be working on making that automated, but that's still after. And I also do have a 3-month, 6-month, longer term coaching that's one on one, that's weekly calls as well over Zoom, plus the whole Voxer coaching. So it's like a walkie talkie in your back pocket. Have access to
Yeah.
throughout the week.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. And we talked about your recovery, but let's talk about, was it just the recovery or was it the whole process of the recovery that led you to your success and happiness?
So I would say the process was its whole journey itself, because I was still finding myself and doing all that work, and there was times I would go backwards instead of forward, and that's okay, that's life. But I would say like the recovery itself, like I feel like a brand new person. Like I really stepped into that next level success of my life kind of thing, and it's just like I'm not where I want to be. I'm working towards there, but I feel like a whole complete different person. I'm more confident. I trust myself. I'm taking different action, all those things. And it's just like hand in hand, different opportunities are coming, things are working out more, because it's like taking out those things that are weighing you back and keeping you stuck. And we all have those things too. And it's just like looking, like another thing too is like with food. Like sometimes I look too, like, this is what I should be focusing on more, or going to the gym more. Yeah, it's been a journey itself.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it sounds like it's an ongoing process.
Yes, you know what? It is for the rest of my life. And it's not that like the rest of my life, like the whole recovery of like, I'm worried if I will drink. I'm confident that I won't. I learned my lesson and I know playing the tape forward what it can do. And I'm happy without drinking. I don't need to drink. And I say sober is the new sexy. Like we are taught that, you drink to celebrate, drink when you're pissed, drink,
Mhm.
when you go to this wedding, or when you're bored, or you know what I mean? Like the dads or the mom, this
Yeah.
is the worst one. And people fall into this trap all the time. The mom wine kind of thing. I need my wine because I'm a mom. You don't need a
Yeah.
wine. And do some meditation, breath work. Sorry, I don't mean to offend. You know what I mean? Like, but it's really like finding yourself, right? And then that's what it is. It's that inner mindset work. And I always say it's not that you're doing wave the magic wand and that's it. Like it's done and your life is perfect. This is ongoing, right? And every level that you get into for your next version self, there's always something that's going to resurface that you need to work through.
Yeah. And I think, maybe the moms, who are having that glass of wine, they're using it in that way to, de-stress and things like that. That's their thing that they do. But I think what's important to point out is that I think what you're saying is that you can find a different
Yes,
outlet,
yes,
one that's more empowering, one that's going to truly help you to feel better and to feel like you're not carrying so much weight on your
100%,
shoulders.
100%. And like, of course there's moms that can control that one glass of wine and just have it. That's cool. Kudos, right? Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. Like there's other empowering ways. Instead of having that glass of wine, read a self-help book, do some breath work. Go like it's truly like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I was gonna say
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. It's replacing that habit with a different
yes,
habit that's more empowering, that helps you feel, better.
100%.
And yeah, something that maybe is more sustainable too. But I think it's important also the whole that it's a journey
Mhm.
and that it isn't that, oh, I found my success and happiness and so now I'm done and whatever, because this is life and we're humans and shit happens. And so we might, even though we find that happiness and success, we might have moments where we have those bad days or those bad moments or whatever. And that's okay. Even if it's in that journey of that happiness and success, like that's okay, because that's just another piece of the puzzle and another part of the process. And, to turn to those healthy outlets that you have that can help you to feel better, like things that you mentioned, like the meditation or breath work, journaling,
Mhm.
kind of just an acknowledgement or witnessing, reaching out to friends probably that
Mhm.
that are going to be supportive, family that is supportive, things like that.
100%. That is so very true.
And so, are there some links that you shared with me for some free
Yes,
resources?
so I have a workbook. It's Overcoming Your Limiting Beliefs, Reaching Your Next Level of Success. And in that workbook, it's basically little journal prompts that you can helps you uncover your limiting beliefs holding you back and empower other limiting beliefs, like more positive, reframing that mindset. That's what I wanted to say. But also there too, there's a section where you can create your own morning routine. And even if you have a morning routine, sometimes like life can happen, we forget or we don't want to. It's not that we forget, but like we don't want to, we're too tired, we wake up late or this or that. Even if it's 5 minutes a day that you do something for yourself, that's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like it builds that muscle. You don't have to do like this hour-long morning routine right away. I just want to share.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so those links will be in the show notes as well. Anyone that's watching, they can click those links and access that resource. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. This was awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate our conversation. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we wrap up?
I think be you. I think we have it like in our head, and I do this too, is like how we have to be, how our life should be, that it actually blocks more of that success abundance coming in. It's just appreciating what we have and appreciating who we are, loving who we are, where we are now in the present moment, and let everything else just flow in. So thank you so much for having me.
All right, Ashley. Well, thank you for being here and have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Be sure to check the show notes for guest links and other helpful information. I'm your host, Olivia Paige, and you can find me on all the social media platforms at Ascension Healing Sounds.